Hi, folks. This is Don Meissner with Linda McQuinn with the North Country Fishing Report. And Linda, one of the things that you've been researching, now Linda's a professor and has a huge class of students all over the state in the SUNY system right now that she's teaching. And so you're constantly researching different things. And you came up and I said to you, I said, Linda, what would be something interesting for us to talk about this week? And you said the invasive species thing that you discovered. So tell us
Yes.
about that.
Well, Don, first of all, I have a secret passion for learning more about invasive species. And I say that because I'm really not an outdoors person. So I don't know a lot of what is invasive, is not invasive, but many decades ago, I had the opportunity of doing a wetlands protection plan for the Akwesasne Mohawk community. And I learned a great deal about invasive species then. So now it kind of triggers interest when I learn about new information, new opportunities. And so there was a recent DEC newsletter, and folks can find this online through dec.ny.gov, but they publish a weekly newsletter that talks about everything that's going on around the state. And so they're holding an invasive species expo, which is a 3-day event down in the Saratoga Springs area. And it's at a state park, the Saratoga Spa State Park, from September 14th through the 16th. The interesting thing is that it's all free and open to the public. They're going to have all kinds of workshops and poster sessions and demonstrations on invasive species.
Can I cut in here just for a second?
Absolutely.
I think the impact and importance of this is that we have to realize that every one of us, every species, everything is has an impact on everything else around us. You know, maybe that's the way the world was designed, but anytime a new species comes into an area, it's going to affect everything else because it's going to barge in and try to take its place. And we've seen that. We've seen it in the St. Lawrence River. Think of how invasive species have impacted our resource. Take zebra mussels and how when they first came in, we thought it was going to ruin the St. Lawrence River. And it changed the whole makeup of the river to be what it is now, where it's like looking in a aquarium bowl of water. It's so clear. It's changed the whole vista of the area. And then take gobies. We thought that was going to destroy our species. And it could have, but our species adapted, and now that's what's given us a resource of fish that are so huge and so prevalent that it is amazing what this invasive species has done. So every time a new species finds its way into our area or into any geographical area, it's going to have a potential powerful impact. And it's important for us to realize this and know that we should be aware of some of these new things that are occurring. Now, in this case, you discovered that there was a invasive species that they said would never come north, and now they found it in Long Island, and it will have its impact, whatever
Yes.
it is.
Yes, it will.
What's it called?
Called the laurel wilt. It apparently affects 2 types of trees, both of which I'm not sure we have here, but nevertheless, I think the important message to your listeners is that the DEC can't do this job alone. You know, the DEC is our frontline defense, but they really need citizens, volunteers, members of the community to come out and get actively involved to help them to identify something that looks new or different, to sort of follow along so that they can help in the overall process of maintaining the resources that we have and being certain that new invasive species don't crowd out those that exist naturally already.
Yeah, this is hugely important for us as a public to be aware of everything that's going on around us if we can. And what you say, that we're the greatest asset of the DEC. We're their eyes and ears out there, and to help them learn about things that they wouldn't know of if they didn't have reports from us.
That's very
So
true.
I think it's important that if there's any of you out there listening that want to know more about this, they're going to have one of these more locally.
Yes, that'll be September 26th in Richland at the Salmon River Falls. So this would be something that local folks, through anyone who follows the St. Lawrence Eastern Ontario Commission, they could get involved there.
Okay, well, I think this is highly important, and you certainly have explained it much more clearly than I could have with your professorial abilities.
If I could add just one more bit of information, anyone who's interested can go to dec.ny.gov. That site will give you an array of information about everything going on with the DEC.
Okay, well, thank you, Linda. And I hope this has been beneficial to all those listening, because we don't want to spew out tons of facts and numbers and things, because it's hard to remember that if you're not taking notes. And if you're driving your car and just happen to be listening and hear this, we want you to try to remember the basics of what's involved. And I think the basics are that the world is changing at a rapid pace due to different inputs that were never there before. And this has caused different species to sort of leave the area they're in and expand to a more hospitable area. And the North Country apparently is very hospitable to a number. Just look at all the turkeys that you see running out in the road all the time. Or, when I was a kid, there weren't any turkeys up here. And it's amazing how things can change. And I've talked about the fact that going fishing and seeing a bald eagle fly above you, and it's majestic and it's wonderful. And it's what's happened as the world goes through its changes. The one thing, change is always going to be part of our life. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meissner and Linda McQuinn with the North Country Fishing Report.